You gotta love those non-disclosure agreements. You know what I can disclose to you, though, is the actual name of this player that's spawning in the upper right-hand corner. Up here, here he is. Whoa, look at that. It is, of course, RagnaroK. His opponent in the lower left-hand corner in the blue. It's Dark. Because we're in a ZVZ. A little Zerg versus Zerg action. And look at that. No early pulls. Both players getting hatcheries. That means we have a nice long game, or at least a couple minutes before one player dies to Lings. We'll see. But yes, the Stormgate Alpha is a thing. I hope you guys have it wishlisted on Steam. If you're a fan of StarCraft, a fan of RTS, got to be prepared for those next ones. We haven't had a new RTS in a long time. I think, like, there's been a lot of indie RTSs, but there hasn't been a big studio one except for Age of Empires 4. And unfortunately, Age of Empires 4, I don't know, it really felt like a classic RTS with a modern sheen to it. You know, it didn't feel like a modern RTS. StarCraft 2, to me, is kind of the only modern RTS, that, at least that I've played. I've only played a handful, but there just aren't a lot of modern RTS options out there. So, wishlist Stormgate on Steam. I also don't know what's public knowledge One Piece. I'm kind of in that same boat, but I can't reveal anything because I don't know what people know. I'd have to like double check before I confirmed anything. Before I said anything. Like, make sure that you guys know. I don't know. I ain't trying to break NDA here, you know? I'm just trying to get people to play the game. If you sign up for the beta, you have a good chance of getting into like alpha access. So if you're looking to play the game early, it's your best bet. Okay, both players dropping the Baneling Nest. Pretty normal so far. Everything looking pretty on point. We're just keeping an eye out for anybody making big rounds of Lings. Obviously, ZVZ can be very tense once Ling Speed finishes up. Once the Bane Nest is done, things can get crazy. We already see RagnaroK building a handful of Lings here. Dark so far just building a couple. Looks like he might just play it defensive with the Banes. There are a lot of ways that this part of the game can go. It's just always interesting to watch how people make decisions. And I think a lot of players make those decisions by the seat of their pants, right? That sometimes they'll just decide to build a bunch of Lings, and that's what makes it so hard in ZVZ, is there are points in the game where you can just make those decisions, and these players, they know exactly those moments, and they make those conscious decisions every game, and that can change game to game. It doesn't even matter what map it is. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. You can just say, okay, Ling Speed's almost done, Bane Nest is almost done. I'm gonna make 10 Lings. I'm gonna make 20 Lings. I'm going to make non-stop Lings and put Ling Bane aggression on until the game ends. Or you could say, I'm going to make 6 Lings, I'm going to morph 3 Banes, and I'm just going to defend and drone. All very reasonable. There's even builds where you don't get a Baneling Nest. As crazy as it feels when you're in these Ling Bane wars to not have one. There are builds where that happens. It looks like we're going to have a very passive Ling Bane phase, though. Dark just playing defensively with his Lings and Banes. RagnaroK built a handful, but I think Dark recognized that, built his own, and then RagnaroK decided not to do anything yet. But RagnaroK built Roaches right away. And you do not build Roaches right away unless you're putting some pressure on. He's got +1 coming up behind this, but he's going to force Dark to respond. Dark is building his own Roaches. He's got a Spine Crawler as well. Ooh, that Baneling running a little bit far forward here. Roach is trying to catch it. But it looks like RagnaroK's going to be sent home, at least for now. And this is the thing about early game ZVZ too. It's really hard to move out without your opponent knowing. Nothing shoots up except for Queens for a while. So these Overlords, you can just have Overlords out on the map watching everything your opponent's doing. all over the place for the whole, first quite a while. I don't know how many minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes of this game without worrying about really anything except Biles at some point. So Dark has enough to defend. RagnaroK pulls back. The drone count is even now, but that did give Dark a big swing in his favor for a second before RagnaroK got those drones out. RagnaroK built those units. That was an investment that went nowhere. And Dark feeling pretty good about how this game has gone. RagnaroK's made a few rounds of units so far this game that haven't done anything. He's just going to go straight into the Spire. He does have +1 and Roach speed as well, but those are coming up quite a bit later. At least that +1 than RagnaroK's, because Dark wanted to get into that lair earlier. He wanted to get into that Spire. He delayed that +1. His Roach army is going to be weaker, but of course, Roaches don't shoot up, so the Spire is going to be very nice here. Speaking of Spire, RagnaroK with the counter Spire, and that you don't see very often. He did not spot this Spire at all. He may surmise that Dark's going for it, but I think this is RagnaroK's own Spire. I think he just wanted to build mutas. So he decided to go for a Spire, and it just so happens there's 8 mutas on the way for Dark. Now, Dark with the earlier mutas, he could get upgrades from him. He could get that Carapace, which I think is the one you want in Muta versus Muta battles, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It's weird for my brain to think about the difference between Carapace and attack with the glaive bounces and stuff. I think you want Carapace, though, in Muta versus Muta battles. But of course, Dark doesn't know that there's a Spire finishing on RagnaroK's side of the map either. So as RagnaroK spots these mutas, they start killing overlords, he's going to go for corruptors. Now things get interesting. Okay. So corruptors beat mutas, right? I'm going to explain this because you don't see this very often. This is actually really kind of weird. Corruptors beat mutas, but the mutas are faster, and corruptors don't shoot ground. So things can get a little bit weird. You don't want to overmake corruptors. You need enough to push the mutas away. But of course, Dark could also make corruptors behind us. He could go for his own corruptors and fight corruptor muta against pure corruptor, which gets a little weird because again, Dark can shoot down. He can also kind of outmaneuver these corruptors and might be able to find a way in. The best thing the corruptors can do, if the mutas all die and there's still a bunch of corruptors, they can go like pee on buildings and might get a kill here or there. That's why this gets kind of weird. It really depends. A lot of it depends on what Dark decides to do. And this is a great move from Dark. He's just going to go for an attack. See, here's the thing. The mutas can shoot down at least. So in the ground army fight, the mutas can be very helpful. The corruptors are useless here. They do not help this at all. Which means RagnaroK just needs to have enough stuff, and he needs to have it in position. And I don't know if he has either. Dark is up a bunch of army supply. He's got the Roaches hitting the front lines. He's got a bunch of Ravagers. And now, what do? But these Corruptors can't come back and help. And that's a dead base. We've got eggs going down here. Dark. Oh, it feels like he might be able to just deal critical damage. GG gets called. RagnaroK doesn't have enough to deal with that. Dark cleans up game number 1 in the weird Spire versus Spire. And I feel like we just saw right there a classic example of why you don't build Corruptors against mutas. I think Dark handled that beautifully. Things might have been a little different if he was trying to commit to mutas. There are builds where you get the mutas and you start +1 and you just pump mutas. You get as many as you can. You try to overwhelm with mutas. You try to snowball the amount of mutas you have. And then if you see Corruptors on the other side of the map, things get kind of weird. You've already invested so much into that tech. Dark just built 8 mutas. Honestly, forcing those Corruptors was enough damage for him. He forced Corruptors. He probably forced Spore Crawlers. RagnaroK was playing defensively. And I think that was enough damage for Dark to feel confident to just build a bunch of Roaches, move across the map. Seemed to work quite well. All right, game number 2. We're loading in to altitude. Just hope RagnaroK spawns in the same spot so I don't have to mess with the the overlay at all. It looks good. All right, let's get into game 2. God, I love that new scene switch. Oh, I'm so happy with it. KSL. Gotta love it. Gotta love the KSL. Shout out to all you guys who support it. Patrons, viewers, watchers, StarCraft fans. Love you guys. Spawning in the lower left-hand corner of altitude, we have Dragon Kites Gaming's Dark. Is spawn in the upper right-hand corner? It's RagnaroK, who did spawn in the same spot. Thank you, RagnaroK. I can't remember what team RagnaroK's on. What does the MYG stand for? It's like my something. I don't know. I keep thinking My Generations, but it's a Who song, and also it's just because of OGS that I'm thinking that. Good old Generations. That was an awesome team. You guys remember OGS? OGS Nada. What a banging team. Who else was on OGS back in the day? Mystery Gaming. Thank you, Thorn. I knew I had somebody smart in my chat. Somebody with a brain that could remember things. I could look it up too. But that's a lot of effort. Again, looks like a nice macro opening for our players. No cheeky 12 pools or anything. Good to see. Was it MC on OGS? He could have been. OGS MC? That feels like it could be correct to me. All I can remember off the top of my head is Nada. I know Nada was on it. I think that means Keen must have been on it at some point. Because I feel like Keen and Nada were like teammates. That is true in my brain. I miss those the old days of StarCraft. When I first started watching, I really wish I had like focused more on it back in the day. Gotten more into the scene. That's one of my biggest regrets in life. Is that when I first started watching StarCraft, because I remember thinking, man, it'd be so cool to like cast StarCraft. Immediately when I first learned about professional StarCraft, I remember thinking that. Like watching Tastosis and being like, that's so cool, I wish I could do that. I just wish somebody was there to tell me, you just could. You could just find the matches on YouTube and cast over the Korean matches, find replays from pro players and cast them. People will watch it. It's crazy. If only I had known, I could have been doing this 10 years early. Yeah, you live and you learn. I'll just have to get ready to cast professional Stormgate matches when that game comes out. I'll put those on my YouTube too, as soon as I'm able to. Friendly reminder to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Get ready for those pro Stormgate matches to hit that one day. RagnaroK going straight into a Roach Warren off the back of that Baneling Nest, finishing up here. See, no Roach Warren yet for Dark. It's always really interesting to see the differences in build orders. And that feels like kind of an early-ish Roach Warren for RagnaroK. He's going to come in and scout. Oh, Roach Warren does go down for Dark. No Evo Chamber here yet for RagnaroK as well. He was very quick on the +1 last game. It didn't really end up helping him out, but I feel like it's always good to be ahead in those upgrades. Neither player really prioritizing it, though. Yeah, it's been kind of funny seeing how the meta has shifted around when to build your Roaches, when to build your +1 for your Roaches. For a while, it was just a race to see who could get their +1 out earlier. Oh! Baneling got a decent connection there, but there's 10 Roaches on the way for RagnaroK, and this is why he didn't get that Evo Chamber, why he didn't get that +1. Queen does go down, though, and the Roaches are struggling to deal with these Lings. They're trying to push them away. Finally, Dark disengages, but he does see a lot of these Roaches already coming out, and I feel like he's got to know it's time to defend. RagnaroK. Again, though, I wonder, if Dark seeing this is enough for him to just hold. RagnaroK's now down a bunch of workers. He's getting them out now. But this feels so much like a repeat of last game, where Dark just gets a big economic boost for no reason. RagnaroK just decided to make Roaches, but he can't do anything with them. I mean, he could try to push across the map, but Dark's a little too good to just die to that. He's got his own Roaches coming out, and he would make more the moment he saw them move past his overlords. Also, the link counterattack is such a threat out on the map here that RagnaroK doesn't want to push out. Both players just going to go for the lair. But this game, very different from last game. That Dark has that +1 way before RagnaroK. RagnaroK doesn't even have an Evo chamber. He's finishing up a lair. I'm wondering if RagnaroK's going to be the one going for mutas this game. As, yeah, he's taking his gases, all 6 of them. The lair is finishing up. There's no +1 in sight. And RagnaroK's going to drop that Spire. See it now. Wow, look at that. There it is. Feels nice to call something that the player does. I was fully expecting him to throw down, like, I don't know, an infestation pit or something. Really just to throw me off. Just to prove me wrong. But now Dark's just building Roaches. He's just got Roaches and Roaches on the way. And look at that army supply. If Dark pushes across the map with speed and +1, I think RagnaroK is dead. Oh, and did this Overseer just spot that? Ooh, no, it didn't. Didn't spot the Spire, but you know what? He sees all the gases. Dark's taking his 6th gas now, but obviously it's a little bit later than RagnaroK's. And I think he may have surmised that there's, well, not enough Roaches right now for RagnaroK to hold this. Yeah, he's absolutely right. So RagnaroK took a gamble. He went for that Spire. I wish this was going to be any different than it's going to be. But unfortunately, the game is over. RagnaroK is down 40 supply. There's no Ravagers here. He didn't see this soon enough. +1 is done for Dark. I hate to say it. I hate to try to call it early here. But the game is over. Dark takes the 2-0 victory as he hits at the perfect time. And I feel like that is Dark's calling card, is that he has that killer instinct, that star sense. He can detect when a player is weak, even if it's not yet. It's like he can feel it, and he's preparing and preparing, and the moment that weakness shows up, they're dead. Dark just crushes them, kills them, and it's like, oh, there's a cool thing gonna happen in a minute, and Dark's like, no, there's not. The game isn't going another 60 seconds. Don't worry about it.